And welcome everybody. Welcome to the fifth Keshe Health Teaching Workshop, and we'll be on with Dr. E.Kostova and Mr.MT.Keshe of the Spaceship Institute, and a couple of other knowledge seekers from the Spaceship Institute. I think Marco is there. John's there as well. Okay, and okay, Armin is. I was just told that Armin is in the lab trying to fly, so he's in the background there somewhere. And I think we're ready to go at the other end. So today's topic is the heart, and we'll be talking about the structure of the heart as well as the emotional part of the brain, attachments to the heart, and other interesting relationships that both Dr. E.Kostova and Mr.MT.Keshe will be bringing forward. So let's go right over to the Spaceship Institute and introduce this topic. Okay. Someone there?
Yes, hello to everybody.
Hi,
It's
Elia.
me, Elia. It's pleasure for me to be with you today with the fifth health teaching workshop. The subject is heart and relation with emotional and physical part of the brain. Like we spoke the previous workshop, the heart made it from the smooth and skeletal muscles, cells, and fibers. So the regulation of the heart regarding KF technology is from emotional and from physical part of the brain. So I will follow the pictures and explanation through the pictures. Can we start with the zero? Yeah, is it the zero picture? For everyone who wants to download the pictures, I just posted the Google Drive link on the live stream page. If you want, you are able to download and to follow in yourself. So we started with the first picture. The first picture is the 3D model of the real heart of human, and how you see is so similar like a mesh. It's made it from 4 chambers, but on that pictures you're able to see how the form in the space is just made it from the nature. It is exactly like a mesh with so many enters and exits from that mesh. And then we go for the picture 1. Picture 1 will give you how heart is placed inside of the chest. From picture 1 to picture 4 is different projection of the place of the heart. On that picture you see the heart in front. Actually is placed not exactly in the middle of the chest, is some kind of the left part of the chest, and actually it is not static position. The heart is moving all the time, and his way in each beating is really 2 centimeters. And when doctor investigate your heart, they even, if you've been in the cardiology department of the hospital, they ever measured your heart in the position 1, and then they made like a 2 centimeters left to measure the way. So that is the way from the middle line of your body to your left part of your chest. This is the way 2 centimeters broad, like heart passed all the time from each beating. So on that pictures you see how is positioning of the heart like on side. The next picture will be see how is up and then how is from a bottom. Yeah. And then we go for the picture 5. So the pictures 5 give you crossing view of the heart and how is positioning of the 5 chambers inside of the heart. Heart take a blood from all your body, which is carrying of metabolic products of your metabolism. In that blood go in the right side of your heart. Yes, this is the picture 5. And we call the right side of your heart because inside of that part is only so low oxygenated blood. Go inside from main vein of your body is vena cava, superior and inferior. And then go through the atrium. From atrium, go to the right chamber. All that right part of your heart only care non-oxygenated blood. The atrium and the right chamber, they are separated with one valve. The valve have 3 parts, and that's why they call this tricuspidal valve. After the blood comes from veins, then in our atrium, then in chamber, go through the main way through the lung. This is the truncus pulmonaris. Truncus pulmonaris put all the blood inside of your lungs. There, blood exchange the CO2 to oxygen from lungs, and then all oxygenated blood goes again through the vein from lung in left atrium. From left atrium goes to the left chamber. Left chamber and left atrium, they are separated again with valve. And this valve have 2 parts, that's why they call mitral valve. From the left chamber, the blood goes through the aorta and through aorta to all your body and the head. This is some simple explanation how your heart have 4 parts actually. This is like 4 places to collect a blood and to generate a pressure inside. All your heart is made from different kind of muscle myofibers, and they have different kind of directions that you'll be see of the next pictures. Then we go to the number 6 picture. I just try to give you simple anatomy explanation. Okay, this is again the cross view of the heart, and in that picture you see 2 chambers, right and left, and muscles inside, because the heart have not only muscle structure on the wall, but also different kind of muscles inside of each chamber. They connect the valves and wall. And because of these little and tiny muscles, chambers are able to generate a pressure inside. Actually, the pressure inside of the heart in different chambers is so different regarding of amount of blood with these chambers supposed to pump inside of the vessel. From the right chamber, blood goes to truncus pulmonaris, through lung, and from the left chamber goes in aorta, but because we have different kind of resistance in the blood vessels inside of the lung and different kind of resistance in the blood vessels in all your body, because of that, these two chambers, they're supposed to generate different kind of pressure inside to be able, how is in English, opposite, and to make a pump function regarding this resistance, to cross this resistance, to overcome this resistance. Okay. In the same picture 6 is in blue line showing the autochtonic nervous system inside of your heart. Actually, in anatomy, it's explained that heart have an autochtonic nervous system and the impulse generated inside of the sinus node. For you on that picture is visible on the left bottom like a blue knot. And then from this blue knot goes different kind of blue lines. This is the path from different part of your heart. In other pictures is more visible for you. Then we go to the picture 7. Okay, the picture 7 is again the cross view of the heart, but in that way is visible two valves between the right atrium and right chamber and the left atrium and left chamber. And you are able to see what is the how in English? How looks like the wall of the left chamber and how looks like the wall on the right chamber and the wall in between them. They have different. They are different. How is in English? So I want to say that the left wall of the wall of the left chamber is the more wide and more thick than the right chamber wall because they generate different kind of pressure inside. The resistance of the vessels inside of your lungs there is so small if you compare of resistance of the all vessels inside of your body. So the pressure what is generated inside of the right chamber is less than the pressure what is generated inside of your left chamber. And because of that, the left chamber has the wall of the left chamber is more thick because supposed to generate a huge amount of pressure inside. Okay, then we go to the picture 8. Picture 8, picture 9 and 10 is showing you in 3D model autochtonic nervous system inside of your heart. Actually, impulse generates inside of the sinus node. For you, is visible the first node of left top. From there, when impulse is started, goes through all path, passing the atrium, then in the middle of the wall between two atriums, and then goes to the next node they call atrium ventricular node. This is not between the atrium and chambers. When you generate the impulse inside of the sinus node, it is more frequent. Then when reach the AV node, atrium chamber node, the function of that node is just to slow down the frequency. From that node, impulse goes through all the net, they call this Purkinje net, to two chambers and the wall in between the chambers. Autochtonic nervous system just support all the beats of your heart. Because of autochtonic nervous system, heart is never stop. And actually, autochtonic nervous system of your heart belongs to your emotional brain. Because nervous regulation of the heart is not only from that nervous system, have also regulation from your central nervous system regarding parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system. The main regulation for heart from parasympathetic nervous system is nervus vagus, which just slow down the movement of the heart. Also inside of your carotid artery have other nodes, nervous nodes, which regulate your heart beating. All that parts and also sympathetic nervous system regarding adrenaline releasing from your kidney glands. They regulate all the movement and functions inside of your heart. But only autochtonic nervous system belongs to your emotional part of the brain. All other regulations belong to your physical part of the brain. And you again see the similarity, like all the muscles which made it the heart, they are smooth and skeletal muscles. Also, you see the same similarity in the nervous regulation. We have again two nervous system regulation in our heart. This is autochtonic to emotional part of the brain, and peripheral regulation like parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. They belongs to your physical part of the brain. Okay. Then we go to the picture number 11, which is give you 3D model of all Purkinje net. They actually looks like small tubes all around the wall, but actually they are more close to the inner superface of the wall. It is not outside, like more outside of the wall. It is more close inside of the wall. It is important for you just to remember, and Mr.Keshe will tell you how it's really on that part of the wall start conversion of DC to AC. You see, there is like small tubes and impulse gone inside through the end and actually reach every myocells inside of the wall. Okay, then we go to picture number 12. And picture number 12 just give you drawing, it is drawing picture and give you again the autochtonic nervous system inside of your heart. I posted different kind of pictures just to be visible for you to understand how actually autochtonic nervous system cross all the walls inside of the heart. It is so organization of all the chambers for inside of the heart is so similar like a reactor organization. And when we reach the chapter for a pressure inside of each chamber, we'll be see that similarity again. This is our main pump, our main generator in our body. Then we go to the picture 13. It is again your autochtonic nervous system with measurements in which part, how many heartbeat you have per minute, and how this frequency just slowing down to the end of the net of Purkinje. So from the sinus node, you start from 70. Then when you reach the atrial chamber node is Ave node, you slow down to 45, 50, then goes through left and right chamber. You finish to the 35, 40 and to the 40, 45 beats. If you measure different kind of percent between all the parts, you will be found some kind of consequence. Okay, then we go to the 14th. 14th is like a GIF picture. If you open, you are able to see how impulse goes through the all autochtonic nervous system and how this impulse causes the retraction and relaxation of the walls. Okay. It is gift.
With 14.
Yeah, 14 is gift. It is a picture with action. If you are not able to open, everyone is able. This is just to show how goes relaxation and contraction of the wall. This is gift moving picture. Probably you are not able to open like that.
I think I have it there now.
Ella. Yeah, but it's not move. You have just static. Supposed to move, right, but it's not moving. Okay, but everyone are able just to download, sorry, and to see. Okay, then we go to the 15th. 15th give you different kind of direction of the myofibers inside of the heart. Actually, they have a spinning direction. And how you see on the tip of your heart, they make like kind of 8, like infinity. If you look on, if you enlarge that picture, you'll be see exactly the sign of infinity. And direction of the myofibers is regarding how they make a contraction and relaxation of each chamber, like atriums and ventricular. And when they just relax, other part contract. This is so synchronic movement. It's not that your heart contract all 4 chambers in one go and relax all 4 chambers in one go. No, they work one by one because they have to generate inside of them pressure. And because of that, movement and function of the heart wall, they have isotonic and isometric state. In one state, they collect a pressure, in other state, they make a move. They contract to pump the blood. But it's really good picture to show how the nature make the direction of muscle like infinity. Okay, so the 16 give you direction of the muscle inside of chambers when they are relaxed and when they are contracted, how they looks like. And they are again showing you the spinning direction, how they just spin, go around. It just looks like, for me, like a shell. Okay. Then the picture 17 give you more technical view of chamber and the direction of the myofibers. And is showing you how they spin. So the top spin clockwise and the bottom spin upperclockwise. It's exactly making the infinity model when you spin infiniting model. And then what is happen? Just generate the pressure inside and the pump just pumping the blood inside of the main vessels through lungs or to your body. The pictures 18th, it is again muscle view of your heart, direction of the myofibers, and direction of the contraction. So you tip of your heart just contract and make the movement circular. Each part make different kind of movement, but they are like a part of the science of infinity, of the science of 8, because they are synchronized to each other. Okay, then we go to the picture 19. So the pictures 19 showing you the organization of sarcomere inside of each myocells, what we spoke the previous time in the 4th workshop. I just give you back again the chart of the sarcomere because I want to tell you that when the actin and myosin slides to each other, they make a contraction inside of the myocells and then the myofiber and all the muscle. And when they contract, they actually generate a pressure inside of the chamber. Then, when starts the relaxation, actin and myosin go away from each other, but they are able to go away up to the point of 2 micrometers. If they go more than 2 micrometers, they are not able to slide again and to make a contraction. So that is the point when the patient get a heart failure, when they dilatate a myocells up to the moment that myocells is not able to retract to the normal size. What's mean is not more able to generate the same pressure in that chamber. And you see on the bottom of that picture that is measuring the forces, how many forces generate each movement. How you see there are 4, like Mr.Keshe, we ever have a trinity and then 4 force come in to balance the situation. I will be not boring you with so medical stuff, just I want to give you simple consequence between the natural anatomy and what Mr.Keshe explained you about the Kiev stage. Okay, 20, number of picture 20, give you the cardiac cycle. This is explanation how because of the contraction and relaxation of the muscles have different state of cardiac cycle. So we start with venous intake inside of the right atrium, then the venous flow goes to the right chamber, then from the right chamber blood sent through the lungs via pulmonary artery, then started oxygenation of the blood inside of the lungs, and from there blood goes through the lungs vein inside of the left atrium, and then from left atrium goes to the left chamber, and from left chamber to aorta. Aorta spread the blood to your head and to your body. This is the cardiac cycle in easy way to explain. And 21st is again cardiac cycle, but is give you time. How you see how many seconds you need for each movement of each chamber. That is interesting just to have in mind, because when you are able to measure the things in main model, how our body, then you are able to make some kind of calculation with and to prepare the things what you want to do, because everything is one is so similar and have consequence between our body and reactors what you want to prepare. Then the 22nd is give you measurement of the pressure inside of each chamber. So this is millimeter mercury. In medicine, measurement is everything in millimeter mercury. So you see in the right atrium is generate the pressure like from 0 to 4. Then when you go to the right ventricle is like 25 millimeter mercury during the systolic movement. Systolic means when your chamber contract and pump the blood through. And 4 for diastolic. Diastolic is when your chamber relax. So here you have two pressure during the movement, during the contraction, 25, and during the relaxation is 4 millimeter mercury. Then in pulmonary artery, you have 25 millimeter mercury during the contraction, because when the right ventricle contract, just pump the same amount of blood inside of the pulmonary artery, and the pulmonary artery do not have resistance in front of the chamber, just have the same pressure inside, because when you don't have a resistance, in null resistance, your work is more, it is like you do the things 100% done without missing something in energy or on the, in that case, of the flow of your blood. But when start the relaxation, because the blood supposed to go in lung like river, how is in English, like river cross the land and just go inside of the earth smoothly. Then 25 millimeter mercury became 10, just slowing down, because you have a huge amount of vessels inside of the lungs, and just blood go slowly to each one. When you're supposed to collect the blood and to take the blood inside of the left heart, then from 10 millimeter mercury, what you have inside of your lung, starts to be 10 in diastolic in left atrium, and then when comes to the left ventricle, starts to generate more pressure in systolic state. When you have a contraction, it is 120. It's because in periphery in your body you have a huge amount of vessels, but with so big size, it's so big diameter, so they make a resistance more than the vessels inside of your lung. So to cross this resistance, to pass by this resistance, you need more pressure inside of the chamber. That's why in atrium and left atrium, then the left ventricle generate the pressure like 120 during the contraction. And in aorta, it's again 120. So the blood without resistance pass from left ventricle to aorta and then through vessels in all your body. Okay, I think 23rd is the same, just more precise and left and right, just to have it. I just posted for you just to have. And 24 gives you all the measurement of pressure inside each contraction and each relaxation. So the function of heart in medical language separated to two parts is systolic and diastolic. Systolic when you have contraction, diastolic is when you have relaxation. But actually your heart is not relaxed in one go 4 chambers like I told you. It's relaxed one by one because of function. So when you start on that chamber in cardiac cycle, you see you start with systolic, but actually of the movement of the muscles, we are supposed to look on relaxation state. So that's why just put your attention when is written diastolic. Diastolic is relaxation of a muscle, and this means they just generate pressure without contraction. It means isometric generation of pressure. When pressure generates inside of the left chamber, we're supposed to have a closed mitral valve. But from the beginning, left chamber just is relaxed. The mitral valve is open. Why? Because supposed to take off the blood from left atrium. And to take the blood from left atrium, it means the left atrium in that way supposed to contract. So when you have the relaxation of left chamber, in same time you have contraction of the left atrium. When the contraction of the left atrium is finished, then the mitral valve just close and then starts generate the second generation of the pressure inside of the left chamber, but it is isotonic now. All these different kind of contraction inside of the left chamber wall, like isotonic, isometric, they have different levels. And actually this chart gives you measurement inside. When it starts is like 70, 80, 60, when it's open valve, when it's closed valve. So after the mitral valve is closing, I told you, then the pressure inside of the left chamber starts to increase up to 120, and then the aortic valve is open and blood goes through aorta to all your body. When it's finished, then it starts again. The aorta valve starts to be closed. Then the relaxation of the left chamber starts, and again the mitral valve opens, and it's the same. The same picture is for the right part of your heart, just in different millimeter mercury, because like you saw in the right side, pressure is less than the left side, because in front of right heart you have vessels which they are so small in diameter, it's not that long. It means they make a less resistance than the vessels in your body because they are so long. They cross all your body, and most of them they have a big diameter, so they make a huge resistance in front of left heart. Okay, then we go to the 25. 25 is more schematic explanation of the heart cycle. It gives you again measurement of the pressure, in which pressure is valve open, valve close, and how many seconds each movement needs to be done. Okay, the 26 is combination of lung function and heart. What I told you before that, how from the right side blood goes through the pulmonary artery and spread to the both lungs. Then after oxygenation of the blood collecting through the lung veins, go inside of the left atrium. From left atrium goes to the left chamber, and from left chamber goes to aorta. Okay, and 27 is more, I just found that picture and give you because it's more schematic and explanation is the same how the blood go from the left, from right to left, but for you it's more easy to understand the flow of blood. It is like two part of reactors and with exits and enters. Okay, and the 28 gives you circulation of blood from to your body and to your head. So we call in medical language the small cross of the blood and the big cross of the blood, because from artery, from aorta, the blood spread through your head and then go back to the right atrium. In some way goes through all your body and collect the blood inside of the right atrium. Just different kind of highways of the blood. And that pictures give you understanding that in front the left and in front the right part of your heart, you have different kind of resistance, and the pressure which is generated inside of each chamber is regarding that resistance to pass by the resistance of the lungs and head and to pass by the resistance of all your body. Okay, and then the 29th, it's again measurement of different pressures inside of left, right, and main vessels, just to have, and if it's helping you to make your consequence in your reactors. And yeah, and picture number 30, this is heart from glass. Just if you don't have anything, but you are able to make just shape outside of the heart, is look exactly like a picture 30. One mesh with several enters and exits. And now I just will try to share with you my screen to show you how it work together, lung and heart. What is collaboration between the lung movement, heart movement, and your diaphragm in chest? Because actually you have three diaphragm. This is diaphragm on the bottom on your mouth, then is diaphragm on your chest, and the third diaphragm is in the pelvic area. Okay, it's visible for you?
Yes, Elliot, it should be fine.
Okay, I will try to make it larger. Yeah, they're working and that way. So you see when you just breathe, this is breathe in, breathe out, breathe out, breathe in, how your diaphragm like a muscle, this is only muscle, structure of your diaphragm, how it's moving. This is the so specific movement, you see, and support the lungs, and how the heart is breathing inside of a lung. It's just like lungs cover the heart. And actually, it is not so by chance. The heart is in between two lungs. And actually, in the bottom, they have support of the muscle who is able to move. I will try just to make different kind of view for you. This is on your back. This is breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. See how perfect nature just create that complex of second generator in our body. I will try to give you that view. It is actually like a pump in pump. Lungs works like a pump, pumping the energy of heart, and heart is pumping the blood, and diaphragm muscle just support that function of the lung. Okay, it's from my side of normal anatomy. If you have some questions, I'll be happy to answer you.
I got a quick question for you, Elia.
Yeah.
Okay, so as in what we see on your screen share right now, is the diaphragm actually pushing on the lungs, or is it allowing space for the lungs to to expand?
It's allowing the space. Yeah, allowing the space. But actually, see how they move in so synchronic way. They are not connected to each other. Diaphragm is they have no bridge between the diaphragm and lung, but their function is so synchronized. It's like you make a fire, and I don't know how is in English when you don't have enough. How is in English? You make a fire, and you want to put air inside of the oven to fire be more strong. How is in English? I don't know. This type of
You blow.
yeah, the
Called
draft.
draft.
Yeah, just it's just like that. You see. It is exactly like that
Right.
because
So it's like a
all the
bellows. You're talking about
conversions.
a bellows.
Hmm?
A bellows.
Okay, I really don't know how it's in English, but here we do so often, like when the fire is not good and you want to make a more fire, you put air with that kind of mechanism, or
With
how
the
to say,
bellows.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, bellows would be correct there.
yeah,
That's right.
you
It's called
understand?
a blow. You
Yeah,
blow at
something
it.
like this.
Mm.
Mm.
If you blow too hard, though, you pass out. So you don't want to blow. Bellows works better. So what I was trying to get at is that it looks like the body is allowing the heart, or sorry, the lungs to expand rather than using the diaphragm to physically force it to contract and expand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also your breathing is related with the function of lung, their move itself. It's also related with the movement of the diaphragm and also with the movement of your intercostal muscles. There are muscles between your ribs. And
Right, that would
actually,
allow lungs to
the
expand.
movement
Correct.
of breathing is several parts. It's not only that lungs move, breathe in, breathe out. They have to be synchronized. Lungs, your diaphragm, and the muscles between your ribs. They work all together and support your breathing.
I have a question, Elia, regarding, you mentioned the sinus node. I'm wondering
Yeah.
what is why the term sinus, which is normally
Sinus,
we relate that to
yeah,
the nose.
yeah, because it's in upper part of the right atrium, and they call the sinus because it's pacemaker. There, on that place, the impulse of heart generates, makes pacemaker, and because of that, they call sinus node. The node who generates impulse. And actually, when you go to the doctor and they measure your pulse or make electrocardiography, they ever said, yeah, that patient have a normal sinus rhythm. It means the rhythm comes from sinus node. It's not come from other part of that autochtonic nervous system. Because in many disease, they call the rhythmic disease of the heart, you are able to have rhythm from atrium ventricular node, just the sinus node not working, and then they start the heart problems and the rhythms supposed to be regulated.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
when you have an irregular heartbeat, right?
I just mute my phone because have some noises around.
The builders are
Yeah,
at it again.
it's just like that.
Okay. Are there any
Good
other
time
questions?
to start with Mr.Keshe, I think.
Sure. We can segue into that very easily now.
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good day to all of you. Thank you very much, Elia. As we've seen, this is the fourth Knowledge Seekers Health Workshop, and it's the fifth one. The fifth one, yeah. We had the first four, but this is the fourth one with Elia, and we see how she can educate us in a very easy way, but in a way that even we understand it, not being a doctors. And in so many ways, with our work, we're not trying to change anything in what is being said, but in a way how we look at the operation of the heart as a totality, as a operation between the two parts of the body. Something maybe is very interesting for some of you to know, most of you know by now, is that as we said last time, the heart has two different kind of tissues. One is a smooth and one is a skeletal. And we always said that the smooth is connected with the emotional part and skeletal is to do with the physical part. In fact, if you go back to the origin of the creation in life and understand the process of the how body has evolved to what we understand and we can see is that the body originally must have had 4 systems in circulation. Putting out the neurosystem as a system on its own, the body must have had a feeding system, which means sending energized blood to the body. So that's why we see the red blood circulation. And then the body must have had a second pump in collecting or taking the body doesn't need in respect to the oxygenation, or what we call it energization, not oxygenation, because we know no oxygen that crosses the wall of the lung. And then the body must have a third system, which is for circulation of the lymph, that the physical part could be fed. The red blood system was a fourth entity of the emotional for the nerve system, which was part of it. The second system, which was the cleaning side, which we call it the reverse blood into the heart, had its own pumping system. The third system, which we said was for feeding of the physicality, which means that the lymphs could get around to be all over the body, that muscles could use it, bones could use them, and so there was a need for circulation. So the lymph system had its own pump. And there has been a fourth pump, which you see the effect of it in the immune system. So our immune system had its own separate part. And each one, to be able to operate, had to have the different pressures and different, measures that would not interfere with the others. So you couldn't pull in the red blood cells into the, let's say, for example, the lymph system. And over millions of years, body somehow has brought these 4 systems and has put them together in the heart. So in so many ways, our heart is a evolution of development of our physical part to be looked after, and the emotional part. The red blood cells are to do with the emotional part. The lymph side and the immune system is to do with the physical part. So when the 2 systems have come together, we see the 2 tissues, 2 different tissues. And that's why our emotional part is connected with our physical part. So this is one of the reasons you have 4 chambers. Dr. earlier explained that each chamber has different pressure for whatever reasons they assume to be. But in fact, these 4 different pressures are exactly set to be able to extract the immune system from the bone marrows and spread it. The other one is the other pressure in other chamber in hidden way is for the circulation of the lymph. And on the other hand, lymph and the reverse of the blood cells coming back to the body after they deliver their oxygen is the cycle we see. And then altogether, now we have got to a point of one system operating and carrying out 5 or 6 functions at the same time, and at the same time heart is the only piece of the human body where the emotional and physical part share and intermingle. In the brain we see a clear separation from the emotion than the physical part. Heart, the two act and work together because they share the system together. And this is one of the reasons that we have the 4 chambers, because of the 4 functions they used to carry as 4 separate pumps. Now it's been adjusted and it's been corrected in that way. Something which I noticed Dr. Elia uses continuously is oxygenated. We call it energized because we know no oxygen crosses the wall of the body. Something very interesting for you, if you most probably don't know, you know in one way or another, and I'm sure a lot of you have experienced it, is that the connection with the physical and emotional has a regeneration time. As you know, the body of the man, the oldest part of the body to regenerate itself was 9 years, which is usually attributed to the femur, the bone. But like the skin, which changes in so many days, and other bits, the muscle tissues of the heart, be it the soft, smooth, or skeletal, they have a recycling time of between 3 to 5 years in totality. So, what happens when this 3 to 5 years takes to change? You will see that the heart muscles will change with it in cycles. And in so many ways, if you think this is a bit interesting and not interesting for you, is that if you've fallen in love, measure how long you have loved what you loved. Because the love comes from the emotional part, and the physicality comes from the physical side of the heart. As the brain allows the heart side tissues to change, so when you fall in love, measure the time you have fallen in love and been in love. You'll find out the time span of loving with the emotional part attached to it is 3 to 5 years. Some people after 3 years, they lose the feeling of how they fell in love with the person, because is the tissues of the heart have replaced, and in time the what we call gravitational magnetic field of the heart, because of his reproduction, has changed in respect to the emotional part of the magnetic gravitational field. That's why you fall in love with your heart, and then when the emotion, the physicality of the heart changes, not the smooth side but the skeletal side, you find out, why did I fall in love with this person? Heart is the connection between the emotional part and physical part, and the cycle which is not emphasized, you'll find out, due to the change of the muscles and fiber tissues of the heart, it creates a different gravitational magnetic field which does not match in a way with the gravitational magnetic field of the emotional part. There is no connection, so you find out you fall out of love. This is why if you look at the marriage divorce rates, we see huge divorce rates within the first 18 months. It's just that physically we get attracted, emotionally we trigger the same thing, and then in time, as the muscle tissues change, especially in the younger age, you find out you don't feel that same thing as you felt 3 years ago. So this is a very clear indication and a connection between the smooth and the skeletal part of the heart and the physical and emotional part of the brain. So This might answer you in so many ways why we keep our connection and love with our children, but not with our partners. Because our children came through the process of our neural system, where our partners come through the emotional and physical part. In so many ways, you got to understand the totality of what happens and how these the magnetic gravitational fields in the heart are created at that moment. We spoke, and Dr. Elia spoke about AC and DC. This is what we call the direct current, but in fact, in the heart of the man, there is no electric current. This is all plasmatic, because your blood is in what we call the Gans state, is not in the matter state. So the current flow in the body, and is very active, and that's why it can be done so quickly even in your neural system, is in a plasma condition. So what we call in the plasmatic side is a direct M and alternative M, which is a direct Magrav energy and alternative Magrav energy, because even the gravitational magnetic fields of the plasma of the blood enters the heart at the point of entry, where, for example, Dr. Elia called it the sinus node. At that point is the measure of what is needed, what is left, and is not a high energy on the feedback. So you find that at that point, or the body, as the whole heart absorbs energy from the blood flow, which is in the plasma condition, which is in a Gans state, different layers of the heart have different nanolayering. And according to the thickness of the fiber in the heart and the nanolayering, it decides how much energy is absorbed from the plasma of the Gans state of the blood into a matter nanolayering of the heart. And the variation in the thickness of the heart, in the wall of the heart, which is in the Gans state, in the nano state, creates a current flow, in a changes in a plasmatic flow into the static flow of the nano layers. You've seen this with your electrodes in your nano copper oxide. On the surface you measure DC, and inside, when it comes down more to matter, you measure AC. And this conversion and the conversion of the energy of the plasma of the blood dictates the beat of the heart. In a way, it's a capacitor. It charges in the nanolayers of the wall, and then when it gets to a point, it has to release. It's a capacitor. It's the best capacitor energy reserve which we have in anywhere in the universe for the human being. So the heartbeat comes more or less from the thickness of the wall, and the thinner you are, the thicker you are, the way the nanolayering is, depends how much energy you absorb from the heart, in the heart, from the flow of the Gans of the blood. So when you start what we spoke to yesterday, I deliberately opened the door in respect to the flow of the Magravs of the Ganses, that you can create light in crossing the two flows in different direction, especially for the talk of today regarding the heart. In so many ways, in that interface, one flows in one direction, the other blood flows in the other direction. This creates a very much a gravitational magnetic field, or some people call it, because it's so intense, you call it different chakra. That's where electromagnetic field of the heart produced, and it is produced by conversion of the Magrav energy of the Gans of the blood, which in coming in touch, and the speed which goes through the heart, transferring some of its energy by contact into the nano layer of the matter. John is trying to build such a thing, and in a way Marco is doing the other half of it. So maybe in the next couple of weeks when they have achieved it, then you can see the light. And then when you have the light, you know it's a magnetic field, gravitational field, and then you can understand how what you call magnetic field of the human being, or what you call the chakra in the heart area, is considered to be. It's a generator, it's absorber of the energy. The energy from the conversion from DM and AM comes from the breathing of the oxygen in the lungs. The red blood cells carry the energy and they deliver it, but if they have to deliver in a certain way, most of the energy which comes through the lung is not absorbed directly by the heart for its work, because it's such a big mixture and it's got such a variety in it that it can literally, it's like you overcharge the body. So most of the regulatory control of the heartbeat comes from the feedback when the flows back in. It drops, but it still comes with the same, and then when it goes to the heart, it charges up. This has to be that way because once we go into the blood circulation, I might explain to you how energy is transferred across the blood cells into the neural system. Then you understand that if the energy was to be transferred directly in all of it in one go, the energized red blood cells which come in from the lung, if they were going to deliver all of their energy at that high energy, the lung would have grown like nothing. The lung would have been most probably bigger as the size than the heart. But in a way, because the energy is too much, it's a high energy, it's like a sound we don't hear because it's over our hearing level. So they pass. And that's why your heart blood beat of the heart is mainly controlled by the feedback from the body. When the energies are done, the body needs what it needs. And in a way, when you get excited, the energy requirement comes from what is short in the body, that when it comes back into the heart, it delivers more, and then the heart knows what to ask for the lung to be energized. The same time when you, as I said, it's a connection between the emotional and the physical part. When you see somebody you love, you should run out of breath, you're short of breath. This is the same process. So now we can understand the totality of the work of the heart and in respect to the rest of the body. Because as this is a part of the total circulation, your blood vessels dictates how information which has come from the brain through the neural system needs to which part to absorb or release energy to which, like for your muscles or for your liver or whatever. And then at the same time, the interaction between the fields from the neural system and the blood which flows through the blood vessels, as Dr. Elia showed you, it's got different pressures. This becomes exactly like the two plates you've seen in our new kit which you released. One plate is the blood vessel, the other plate is a neural system. And according to where, which and what strength the material passes, it converts to CO2 as a Gans, or it converts to muscle tissue of the leg or whatever. Because then the neural system in conjunction with the minerals decide what is needed in what area. Now maybe you understand the essence of the creation of the parts in the body. And when there is a miscommunication or misplacing or absorbing a different materials and the material gets stuck somewhere, this creates an interference. So in that interference, a new material has to manifest itself. And this is what you usually call cancer lumps. If you look at all the cancer lumps which we see in the body of the man, which is not connected to the blood vessels, we see a cancer lump, but we don't see any cancer cells in the blood, are created in that process where the neural system and the blood system, in converting a material to whatever reason, have converted themselves, or something has got stuck and then has changed the condition. So now you understand the connection between the neurosystem and the pressure and the volume of the blood which goes through the body of the man. That's why if you go deeper, we don't see cancer in the leg tissues. We don't see cancer in the, usually in the muscle tissues of the arms and legs, very rare. But we see cancer with the emotional connected part with the soft tissues of the body of the man. Because the emotion, like liver, the emotional part connected to the bone, the emotional part connected to kidneys, these create a difference between the neurosystem and the blood flow. And at the different pressures, they are used for different things. And if you look at the scale which Dr. Elia showed you, if you can replicate the same pressure, the same with the neurosystem information field, you should be able in the future to produce any part of the human beings. You don't need to culture it. You've seen it in your Gans plates, you've seen it in your copper oxide. Out of nowhere, which there is no CO2, you create CO2. So in the future, people like Dr. Elia and the medical people who join us will be able to create this condition, to replicate the magnetic gravitational field of, let's say, the heart tissue, and you don't need to do it outside and then add it in. A tissue damage can be repaired directly by the body to replace, you just show it where to be done. This is what we've done in Keshe Foundation for years, and everybody was wondering how we do things, and it's just magnets and whatever. This knowledge for us is complete. So now you understand. You have to see where the nerve system passes in the body. You have to understand where the blood vessels go and the pressure which carries in that region and what condition is. You put your system to replace or adjust what, for example, the heart has dropped in pressure in the higher part. Then you create same condition plasma by additional systems, and then the body comes back to position, and you most probably see the cancer disappearing, and part of the things which was missing or damaged is repaired so rapidly. People, even Dr. Elia has, what do you call it, tested the validity of the systems we have when she was here with the pain in her back. As you know, she saved my life from this arsenic poisoning, and I showed her the beauty of this system, and Arman has used it already here. So now you understand how we operate. We create a condition. Don't look at the physicality. Physicality counts for nothing, because physicality is just a way of delivering fields and how you change the fields. If you have a heart problem, or you have a part of the heart which is damaged through whatever, you can create a condition within around the heart in connection with the emotional part to arrange and organize the repair. So you have to understand, go back to, if this is very hard, this is what I said yesterday, and I think it was, we were talking about what you can make even gold by putting to the plates out of the fresh air. In the body of the man, we don't need the fresh air, everything is there, we have to organize it in the field, magnetic gravitational field balance. Then you see how we manage to extend the amputated toe, how we can remove blockages in the lung and in heart, because we just change it. As how you can change in a man having a cancer one day and no cancer a few days later. You change the environment, and then you see the body will just needs time to remove what is not needed, because it takes the field and you see the cancer disappearing. Because without the blood cell, which is controlled by the heart, you do not and cannot produce correct muscle tissues. This is why we see cancer in old people, why we see cancer in the people with the stress shock. because the emotional part of the heart uses and changes the amount of the gravitational magnetic field in the blood vessel. So the condition for the cells, which I always said is taxi-destinated, when they get to the point is different, because the emotion controls it. And then at the same time, emotion through a neurosystem adjust themselves. You find prostate cancer with emotion, with the child, with the son. You find certain liver diseases in respect to certain time. You find Alzheimer's in respect to people who want to forget the past. This is fed in the brain in conjunction with the brain and the blood cells which come through the heart. There is something interesting which I explained before. You breathe air, but the air you breathe is not the same all the time. The oxygen which comes from the tree in Nepal and the oxygen which comes from the same tree in Australia or in South America is not the same oxygen. The oxygen which is released by a apple tree is not the same oxygen as released by the pear tree. So with the winds and the circulation of the air on this planet, we breathe a cocktail. And this cocktail of different gases has become part of the structure of the life which our body uses to energize different parts of the body, according to what the blood from the heart delivers. When you live in a different environment, you have a different shape of eyes, or you have different color of skin. Because the air in that environment you breathe, in interaction with the gravitational magnetic field of the earth, changes the field strength of the material which crosses your heart, and at the same time crosses the lungs into the heart as energy. So in that area, we have to have this look to guarantee the survival. We become darker, we become lighter. And then between the emotional part of the heart, muscles, and the physical part, they decide what is going to be released to absorb, and then what is going to be changed. Color of the skin is decided by actually the physical part of the brain in conjunction with the security that the emotional part can stay. So we look at the totality, not the fiber of the heart. And then you don't need to handle the fiber of the heart. You understand you can change the rhythm of the heart with change of the breathing of the oxygen or hydrogen or nitrogen from the air you breathe in. And that's why, as I said, people who've been through the Keshe Foundation system, they know that they always receive a breathing system, because through the breathing system we control what gravitational magnetic field in the blood is absorbed or condition created in respect to the neurosystem to reach certain part of the body, and you see the repairs. So you got to look at the heart not as gates and closing gates or whatever, but look at the heart as operation, why and how it's come about. And this is very important. Then you find out you don't need tablets, you don't need machinery to do things. The body does it himself. It's been done that way. Nobody has sat down and reprogrammed the body. You find the habitual eating has the same pattern. That's why the body wants to receive so much. The heart operation, the gravitational magnetic field which the heart creates in conjunction with the movement of the lung, that's why you've seen it, one moves inside the other, is because they decide what and how much energy is dissipated across the diaphragms in the body. The diaphragms in the body are and will be, and they cannot be changed. They are separation of the reactors in different cores. But God couldn't put a, what they call, our body couldn't put a let's say a bone under your heart and a bone right between your hips. So the diaphragms are literally behave and are part of the bone structure. Because with them, the rhythm they create, the magnetic gravitational field they hold on either side is totally different. Because on the upper side of the diaphragm, it has to create a gravitational magnetic field which can hold the fields within the heart and the lung. And on the other side, it has to be holding the gravitational magnetic field of the stomach and the intestine and lymphs, more or less. Then you have the same in the lower one. And then you understand how the core is completed and how the system works. And even the structure of these diaphragms is decided by the heart, because these are treated as a bone structure, as a holding separation part. Now we can understand more and more in how we can diagnose illnesses through the operation of the heart and the energy which they reach. You can, this is going to be the cornerstone of the doctors and medicine people in the space. Understanding the totality of the interaction, and physicality is a byproduct. As you know, the accusation was being made on the Keshe Foundation with our health side. They use a lot of magnets. He's a crook. These people haven't even got a clue how they are made themselves. These people don't have even a clue about the creation. They're so entangled in their life with the physicality they don't see. That's why we look for the doctors. I saw today an email that the doctor from the Chinese army wants to be part of the Keshe Foundation Medical. These are the doctors. We'll get more doctors from the East than the West. Doctors from the East understand the physicality and the emotional part of the man, like him, or how, what do you call it, the whole structure. Doctors in the West only understand what's in the book, and when they go outside the boundaries, like Dr. Elia, to understand the other type of understanding of the health in the what do you call it, world medicine, they have a full spectrum. They understand in one way. I went to a doctor in the hospital here, they seen the blood and they said it could be a kidney and there was nothing there, so we don't know what it is. And it took Dr. Elia literally no time to understand this is the total symptoms. She looks at the totality and she says it's arsenic, and she prescribes the right antidote, and within 48 hours I start recovering. This is how you got the next generation. If you're a doctor and you want to join Keshe Foundation on the health side, and you have to be what's in the book to accept, I think you're going to find a very, very hard time. You've got to be expert at least in 2 disciplines. And then because you accepted the 2, then you can see the totality. The heart of the man is not even needed. You can take a heart and the man can still exist, because you can feed the soul of the man through the energy cycle. And that's where the 2 cycles come in. The physicality and the emotional part merge in to work to support each other. And one can live without. That's why when you take the heart, the both system fails. When you take the lung, the emotional part fails. You got to go and understand what every atom is, what every molecule in the body as a Gans, not as a matter state. The biggest problem is they're trying to bring the chemistry into biology, And the chemistry has got nothing to do with biology in the working of the body of the man. Because chemistry is a matter state and biology is a Gans state. And it's a schizophrenic just because we see it there, it has to be there too. And when the world of science understands this, then you understand blood is the most advanced gas system you have in your body, because the Gans can transfer energy, can transfer information instantly. And then you understand why even you have so many problems when you have with the emotional part, with the physical part. Look where the heart attack comes from. You just don't have a heart attack out of nowhere. Heart attack comes mainly when emotionally you cannot handle the physicality of life. So one, what you call the smooth tissue is producing a different information compared to the physical part. Failure in absorbing of the energy by the walls, as we explained, leads to heart failure. Unless you deprive the body, the heart, from the blood by all sorts of means. Because if there is an emotional problem, which is totally emotional, you find maybe a brain hemorrhage. When there is a problem in physicality and emotion, you find a heart failure. Because that's where it cannot be done, it cannot be accepted. People with a problem in business which is to do with physicality, you find a lot of heart attacks. People with an emotional problem in their family or in their feelings, you see brain hemorrhage. It's very, very clear. Study people. If you once the guy says, I had this, I had a hard time, my business was this, and it's happened to me a few times, I said, okay, is this the case? Is there a mistress there? And she denies and he denies, and I said, this is the case. And then we find out, yeah, there is a problem with the mistress somewhere. Because the emotional part feeds the emotional, when it cannot handle it, it goes through the brain. And then when you see the people with a heart attack, when you discuss it with them, when you sit down and understand with them, you find that they had business failures, there are things they can't handle. So then you understand the operation of the body of the man. You're short of or you see a cancer, you adjust the cancer, you adjust the lymph flow of the material, you adjust the radiation through thymus, and then you find out what has changed in the blood circulation. And then you see the cancer is not there because you change the condition. It's like in your, what do you call it, CO2 kit. You pick up the nickel plate and replace it with a copper plate. Suddenly the white becomes green or blue. Because in totality, the neural system always is stable. It's the blood flow which continuously changes according to the digestion system. So if you want to compare it, your neural system is your copper plate, nano-coated. Then your, what do you call it, your change of plate creates different materials in different part of your body. It's your blood vessels, it's your blood flow circulation. And there is no difference. And the salt is what is 80% of your body is made of, water. And different salt content in different part according to the blood circulation and the neural system leads to creation and maintaining certain materials in different part of the body. Because as I said before, when we come to the organs, you'll find out each organ has a skin. Why do you have the skin? Because that skin is a sac of a salinity of, let's say, 10 parts in 100. And then you go to liver, is 11 parts per 100. And then you have your plates and the different salinity. And you have the other plate, which is your blood, which continuously changes. So in that sac you create copper oxide, you call it kidney. In another sac you create CO2 with a different plate, and you call it CO2 or you call it the liver. Then you start understanding the process that the creation and created are in the physicality part of the universe. Your fixed plate, your copper nano-coated plate is your neurosystem. And the one which changes according to salinity and what material you put in it is your blood vessels. And then everything has a skin. Your muscle tissue has a skin. Your bone has a skin. Your kidney has a skin. Each skin is one sac and holds certain water plus different type of salt. In homeopathy, they said there are 12 salts in the body. It's not wrong, it's correct, but they cannot explain it. Now maybe we can explain the correctness of the homeopathy. Because it does not look at the physicality, it looks at the totality. Then the operation of the heart, and if you look at, as I explained, the 4 systems, then you can find out which chamber pressure is for what. And the totality of the pressure is a common denominator that all 4 pressures for lymph, for immune system, for cleaning up, and for circulation of the energy, which is in red blood cells, are organized and it's done. So next time when you start as doctors looking at these things, look at the totality, where the energy change comes. There should be no one dying of cancer, if the doctors understand, because cancer, now we understand the difference between the different, the strength of the plasma of the gans of the blood. In a space, we won't carry doctors and we won't carry medicine. We understand the totality. You are a man from the earth and you're a man from whatever planet, the whole system applies the same. The field interaction. So as I said to Dr. Alia when she was with us, we are training you not to be doctors for human race. We are teaching you to understand the totality in a space if you are needed. You can't say, I only treat the white and not the black. In a space we teach you to be able to look after the whole of the race in this universe. And this is part of it. That's why I don't go into parts every time I speak or teach. I don't go into physicality of this is the chamber of the heart, this is the muscle of the heart. I explain the totality, and then if the doctors and the scientists understand it and behave the same way, you see what the change will be. As I said before, the end in this form is inevitable. We cannot escape from it. You call it death, but there is never end. We came from one cycle and we go through that cycle, and this cycle, at this moment of time, we are physically tangible as a being we call human. But we have different dimensions as we pass time through. But it's a matter of making the presence pleasant, which means while you're in this state, you have to be able to share, to receive and give without suffering. And that's why we go the way we do when we teach. Any questions? I've been talking to myself again.
You just had to get the microphone switched back on there. Took us by surprise a little bit with the questions.
Yep, we're here.
Rick, we need this to be sent back to us urgent because we didn't switch our recorder on this side.
Okay.
So we need to come back to our what do you call it, central collection. If you send it to Marco, we'll load it back on ours to keep it. So is there any question?
Do you need the video or the audio, Mr. Keshe?
Just the audio. We keep all the audios here, but somehow we missed this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get the audio to you.
Send it to Marco. Marco will load that on the master desk.
Do you want to do that then, Vince?
I'll send you the link for it, Marco. Yeah, we got the audio recording, and we'll get the on the Google Drive as usual.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
I have a question from the live stream. After heart attack, when there is damage of the heart muscle, will it repair itself, or is it possible to repair with the technology?
You can repair it with the technology, but you find out people who have a heart attack, they carry the same pain. Because if you don't sort out the emotional part, the information or the energy which comes from the emotional side to the soft part of the muscle will not respond. I have a habit when I have people, especially with, let's say, ILS or heart attack, I ask them, what's the reason? Why do you want to exist? Why do you want to live? You wish to die. You cause the problem. And usually you find out people lie to you. And the ones who are sincere, they are sincere for that time with you, you find a solution for them. If something happens by accident, if you get shot in the heart, and you have a heart damage, those kind of damages can be repaired. But if the position comes that the emotional side, which is one half of the heart, is not agreeing with living, but the physical part has to, it will be very, very difficult. Very
Mr.
difficult.
Keshe,
Because we tried this before. I tell you from experience, we have tried it.
how does it work with people that are born with, say, a heart defect or some similar thing like that? Where is that come from the emotional part from before before birth, say?
You have to look for it. Sometimes it's a misinformation which is not linked up with the brain. The production of every cell in the heart has to be done in conjunction with the emotional and physical part of the body, part of the brain. It's the only part which one has to have a brick that the other one can put another brick in it. So when you have a physical defects, you have to look at which part of the muscle is not there or finishes. Is it the emotional part or the physical part? We do this in diseases like children who are born like with mental disabilities where the brain is not grown. We have done and we accept these cases very rapidly because we know we can make the change and our data shows we are correct. So we can allow the brain to redevelop what is not developed in the womb of the mother for whatever reason. The foundation has a full knowledge now to grow any part of the brain. And I have no hesitation to accept cases like this. And I teach Dr. Eli and other doctors how they can do. So in a way, mental handicapness from the children, leaving the ones who are genetic defect, like what do you call it, with the children are born with a long face and deformity. Anything which is physically, the child is okay, it looks good from outside, there is no physical disabilities, and there is a mental disorder, like piece of brain missing or whatever, and because of that certain functions are not there, we have no hesitation to accept, because we know how to grow, allow the brain to redevelop and regenerate, and you find out they start talking, they start living, and we have a very beautiful case here now, a boy of 14, when we accepted the case, I told you before, was in the mental stage of 2 or 3 because the brain wasn't grown. And in 1 year now, I was with them recently, and the boy can, at the age of 14, can say, I want apple, and the mother and father dance on the table. Because for 14 years, the speech part of the brain was not developed, so we have managed to do it. He says, I want to go for a bike ride. He starts writing, because we saw which part of the brain was not developed, and they treat the child like a mentally handicapped. And now the knowledge is there, and this knowledge will be passed on to the doctors who work with us, how to easily to do this. So physically looking correct, mentally handicapped children are not a problem for the foundation. The same goes with the heart defects. You have to understand which part of the muscle, is it the emotional part which is not developed that the physical cannot build on it, or the reverse? And then you go to the brain, you find out which part of the heart is responsible for what. Doctors in the future will understand that the way you map a brain for this is the arm, this is the leg, you map the lung and the heart the same way. So in part of the heart which is there's a defect, you have to find out which part of the emotional part is connected to it, which is connected to the physical part. Then you look in the brain for the physical defects, and then you find out which part of the heart you have to correct. This is the problem with the world of present medicine. They only look in one end, but they don't understand the other end. And the teachings like this is to open the door for them to understand. Doctors in the future have to map up the lung. This part of the lung is responsible for the arm. This part of the lung is responsible for the leg. This is for liver. And the heart is the same. Then you walk away from physicality. And then you have to look, this part of the heart which is missing as a defect, where has its source in the brain? You go to the brain, you develop the brain part, and then the heart piece hopefully should start developing, because it looks for its partner and half is not there. This we done is a very, very tricky. It's doctors don't accept when somebody comes to you with a heart defect. You say, I want a heart scan, MRI, and a brain MRI. They say the guy's crazy, because they don't understand. In time, the way you map the toes, that this is the liver and that's your kidney, the heart is the same, because it absorbs certain energy or releases, allows certain energy to be mixed in the blood for that part of the body. As I always say, maybe you understand more, heart blood is taxi destinated according to its energy. And if the heart absorbs or releases a certain amount of energy, then it goes the same way. Let me explain to you something about the operation of the heart, which I think will be interesting for Dr. Alia. When the bloods come back into the heart, any surplus energy, any extra energy, which they might carry according to what they were supposed, because that part of the body wasn't there, is absorbed by the heart. So when the blood vessels, when the blood cells go from the heart to the lung to be energized, they all go with a blank sheet, just the destination. They go to pick up the passenger, 1 passenger, 2 passenger with a suitcase, and 2 passenger, 4 suitcase. And this is something which the doctors never understand. So one of the reasons when you see the blood, when the blood leaves the heart, the entry chamber into the second chamber, at that point you receive a blank. You receive everything empty. It's just like when you go on a what do you call it, on the roller coaster. At the end of the roller coaster, everybody gets out because you have to be empty seats for the next flight to get on. And then it doesn't matter if it's a fat, small, a child, or 2 girls or 2 boys get on. It's according to what the guy sits in. So this is something, if you understand, then you see, according to what comes back and it needs to be done, the body then creates its own heartbeat. Because emotional part had a say in it, the physical parts had say in it, and then they start the work. So physical defect by birth, you have to look in the lung, and you look in the brain, and you find out if there is a defect. Mainly, mostly heart defects, when there is piece missing, you look in the structure of the brain, and then the doctors tell you there could be a possibility of a defect, or something is wrong there. And if you can't find it, there's a very simple system. You put the people in the breathing condition, which you want, and it will tell you which part of the brain is missing, which doesn't even show on MRI, because the field is not correct, but the matter is there as a physicality. I do this a lot with the people.
Mr.Keshe?
Let me tell you, let me explain to you something. This is one of the reasons when we have patients with a pacemaker or problem with their heart, we do not accept, because they never tell you what's the problem with the emotional side. So, because when you process these people with our technology, you reach the emotional part cannot handle the physical part of the heart. And then you find a problem. They have a higher heartbeat, they get excited, they have different problems. And that's why I explained this to Dr. Elia last time. Now maybe she understands why we don't accept conditions with the heart, people with the heart. I know one of our friends on the forum has this problem. And very hard, I wish I could help. But this is the problem which we cannot do, and there is no solution for it because it's a mixture between emotion and physicality. Next question.
That was my question, more or less, was can the treatment be simply feeling-based or a mood-based treatment? In other words, can you make the repair? Can the body repair itself simply through a mood change or a feeling change, like not just an emotional adjustment, but I mean a true feeling change, a deep feeling change?
First of all, let me clear something out. This is something which was put by the ex-webmasters when we found out we had to change them. They did it deliberately to damage the foundation. And the enemies of the foundation tried to use this against us. We do not treat. Treatment is the doctors which handle physicality. Keshe Foundation processes because it allows the body to process its own faults. So we are not treaters, and that's the terminology for doctors and the health people. So you process, you allow the body to process its own problems. It's like when you buy an antivirus and you put it on your computer, it gets processed where the problem sits. You find it to do what with it. So we don't treat. We are not doctors. And I always tell to even the doctors who work with us, do not use the terminology treat. Treating is for the people who handle physicality. When you handle the totality, you allow it to process itself. And feeling is to do with not the emotion. It's the translation of the physicality in respect to emotion. So if you change the emotion, the feeling will change with it according to what the physicality allows to change. This is very, very important to understand. You can wish you want to be good. You wish you can walk, but you don't feel like walking because the physicality says, I don't have it to walk. Then you find out you do not achieve. This goes back to something we were talking here before with knowledge seekers. We have had a case, we have the video of it, where I explained to you they have taken the upper section of the brain, the physical part away, but the person was still alive and could talk, but she was in bed for 5 years paralyzed. And when you look at her pictures, it's just like you're putting a book on the top of the head. There is no bone structure on top. Cases like this cannot be helped. When the doctors remove the skull or any part of the skull, they remove the production system of the brain. So what this means, if there is a no skull in a certain part of the brain, when you put a plate on, you more or less deprive the brain from its natural process of production. They put a platinum plate in the head, but you have to look at the structure of the brain 5-10 years down the line, and secondly the emotional effect from it. Because what happens, the piece of the molecular calcium which is done on the left side has to move to the right side to be able to keep the structure of the right part of the brain. And now you have created a different field with a plate on the top. So you find out it does not work. It's there physically, but you'll find a lot of other defects. So it is important to understand, even the doctors who listen to us, never remove the skull. If it means you can cover it, hold it somehow, hold it. But don't remove it, because if you keep the skull, you can rebuild the brain. If you remove the skull, you have nothing to build on. You took the bricks away. How do you expect to build a building? Because the structure of the skull, the calcium which is released by the skull in a specific density is like a rain, what hailstone showers. The first hailstone, as it comes down, it has a mass, so it sinks, it goes through the liquid, it becomes part of the brain. In a specific condition, it becomes part of the fat, or what we call the amino acid of the brain, and it keeps the structure together. When you take that away, there is nothing you can do. When you don't have a cloud, you can't have a hailstones. And then the hailstones, as much as it goes up and down, it gets bigger and bigger. In the human body, a lot of doctors have to understand, do not remove anything unless it's 100% essential. At the moment, the medical work in the world is a budget line destination. Hospital has to have 1 million a day, otherwise it loses money. So you go in, moving a skull, moving a brain, which doesn't need to be, you can just remove the tumor, gives us 100,000. Half of the 10th of the budget is covered. A lot of doctors in the direction of the sitting management of the hospitals who are decent resign because they can't take this. With this technology, there is enough we can do and keep everything going without being budget orientated. In the space, as I said to our people here, there is no exchange, there is no, you cannot buy anything in gold and pay in dollars or in euro. Has no value. So when it doesn't have value, doctors start thinking the essence of the helping. That's why they had that oath. At the moment, 80% of the doctor's oath is to the wallet, not to the patient. When I was in Africa, we are, as you know, let me explain to you, in past 48 hours, we are under full supervision of the development of the Ebola. We were not even informed of what is the position yet, what it is, yes or no. When you see the doctors in Africa as a doctor, and if they're lucky, they get paid $200 a month. And then if you read the magazines in America, a radiologist basic wage $450,000 in Los Angeles, where are you going to work? In Africa or in Los Angeles? And then when you go to the hospital has a 10 million budget a day. So you pay for it. They remove parts they don't need because the time of in there has to be counted. They move the brain structures which I don't need to need it because it's just there, my budget, I have to raise 10,000 today, otherwise I'll be sacked from the hospital. This has to move out, and that's why we come in this way and we teach this way. Because you can do it at home. We showed you yesterday in past 48 hours how, with the video which has been released now on YouTube, if you go on the Keshe Foundation YouTube, you see the full video of the CO2 absorption which we made here. Then you understand the process. So you don't need to have a tree video on anywhere in the universe to make a CO2 and then make the fat to feed the people, because people give you the CO2 by breathing. So the same process is at home. When you learn, you have a heart defect. If you're wise enough and you understand it, then you can help yourselves. Then they can't charge you so much. Then we come back to normality. Some people understand it quicker, some people understand it later. But at the end, we will achieve what we set out to do. And you got to understand the whole process. Don't look at one function of the heart. Understand why one wall is thicker and why one is thinner. If you understand the process of nanotechnology and the plasma, and you understand every layer of your body is in a Gans state or is a nano state, then you look at the fibers you make on your electrodes and what effect you get where you change the plate. Then you see how faster you make things. Shred part of the, you make holes in your plates and you see if the rate is the same. You put two plates next to each other on one side and you see if the rate of production is the same. Then you understand. These are the things that knowledge seekers have to develop and show. At the moment is a monkey see, monkey does, and a few people go to test a bed, putting their foot a little bit outside longer to see if it's warmer or colder, that they don't get embarrassed. So if you have a problem, create a nano layer and create the Gans. Create the condition, make a copy of the, what do you call it, of heart, and then start thickening on one side and the other side, and use a CO2 as a Gans material flowing in it. And then measure the current, then you see exactly what I tell you. According to the thickness, different current, then you understand why you have a heartbeat.
Mr.Keshe, in the last workshop, the Knowledge Seekers workshop, you showed us a picture I can show on the screen here briefly of a pump that was that you purchased recently, an aquarium, a fluid type water pump. For
Marco is working on it.
Right. Okay. So could you describe a little bit how the pump of the body, the heart, interacts with the, is it with the, you mentioned with this other water pump, the aquarium pump, that you, the clue that I heard you gave was to use smaller and smaller diameter tubing, and that I assume is to increase the speed of the fluid through the tube, and also to get the Magrav fields closer perhaps to whatever friction way to create light. Now I'm thinking in the body we go from the larger aorta and down into the smaller and smaller veins and arteries and so on. Is it in the interface in the capillaries where that light action might take place, where the friction takes place?
It takes place everywhere according to what the brain has set up to be. Follow, if this is a little bit hard to understand, go and take on the internet, if any of you can do now, take a picture, three-dimensional picture of all your blood vessels. And then go and find a three-dimensional pictures of all your neurosystem, all your nerves. And then you understand what I'm talking about. Then you understand how the process, the system works. And remember, the copper is your, the nano-coated material is your neurosystem, and the one which is changing from one plate to another is your blood vessel speed. Then you understand this very, very quickly exactly what you have to do and how the doctors of the future have to operate their system. Other creatures in the universe don't have blood vessels and pump, but follow the same system in different way. So this is important for you to understand. And then when you talk about the pump, the reason I took the pump, if you want to make a comparison, since yesterday Marco has been busy with his pumps. And what I said to him, and what is understood, I hopefully, is that he has used the two pumps flowing in opposite direction, across each other in a certain system he's built. And now he can change the density of each flow according to he wants how much Gans of which material he wants in each, because the flow is constant. And I explained to him that he's got to put this section where the two fields of flow counter each other. If he puts it in a static Gans or different kind of Ganses separately inside, you will see very, very strange phenomena. If it's done the right way, you will see the creation of new nanomaterials where Ganses which was not known. Depending on the speed, on the density of the Ganses he uses in each pump, and he can create a second condition with different Ganses if he gets it right. As our Chinese friends have seen, you will start seeing different materials outside the parameter of the two, or within the Ganses. Change of the color of the Ganses will be there. So the purpose of these pumps is to create directional flow, but a constant direction flow. If you put 4 pumps and with the variable pressures, you'll find out you reach very much the state of the heart of the man. But again, you have to create the amino acid. A lot of people, I was explaining this today, we were with a, what do you call it, with people regarding Ebola here in Italy. And I was talking and explaining that a lot of people are looking in the wrong place as a solution from what we do for Ebola. The scientists in Africa have been explaining the exact point they have to use and how we can use it. A lot of people look at the Gans and say, okay, if you take the CO2, we can use it. They are using, no, it's not what we do. We understand the essence of the creation, what has to be done. And the test in Africa is done on the basis which we have not disclosed, but it's been disclosed to the African scientists and doctors. See what the response shall be. So the reason for the pumps is totally just was to show creation of the motion of the Gans, because up to now everything here has been static except the dynamic plasmas, which is centralized. This is the first time I put those 2 pumps to show in a way the flow of the material. And as you know, I think it was what's his name, the guy, not Vince, Lucian showed us with drilling a hole and putting Gans inside the matter and putting a winding, matter winding around it, he could increase the voltage. Now you have 2 dynamic Ganses flowing against each other, and you have the same kind of magnetic fields crossing each other. What do you expect? Light will be a possibility and the matter will be too, but is a matter which we can detect or not. I explained to the knowledge seekers when they came here originally, they start putting the reactors together, and even past few weeks I repeated again to them, don't walk into the lab and just be passive. Most probably there are materials in the lab on the floor which you have never even seen and considered. To you is a dust, but look at the shape of the dust. Because the fields in different reactors interact, and if they reach a condition, it'll be exactly like your CO2 box. You have 2 places, but you get the CO2 out of the sky in it. The purpose of these valves was to show how flows are and how flows create friction. The same thing happens in your body. When the blood flows, it creates a different kind of directional magnetic field between what's going out and what's coming down. And usually the return flow of the blood is the base, because it's everything what it had to be done is delivered. In the red blood cells, it's all mayhem of different strength. So again, the return decides what needs to be absorbed, what is the body short of. Doctors will understand this in the coming time. You always works from the base, and you understand there's so much energy I've taken from the toe because it doesn't need it, or it has it, or is short of. So the brain, the physical part for the taxi designated red blood cells, which are for the toe, get energized to the level that is being reported is short of. It's just a continuous reporting system. That's how, that's majority of part of the brain work goes, and nobody understands. They said we only use 85%. If we don't use our hand, it gets numb. If you can't move if you can't use your toe, it gets gangrene, you chop it off. We don't see any gangrene in the brain. We don't see any bits of brain falling off. Every single micromillimeter of the brain is used as a 3-dimensional computer, which man even doesn't have got a clue how it works. I was trying to explain this to the another computer scientist we accepted as a knowledge seeker here last Saturday with Marco. We were sitting. I was explaining to him how a 3-dimensional thing is. As you know, by changing a bandwidth, we came from the big disk to the 5 centimeter disk in the CD. The new computer chips which are made by the Japanese are not marketed as a cube, and it has a capacity hundreds of thousands of times better than the small cube than the CD-ROMs. But they're not marketing because they haven't earned their money from the investment of the past. And now put this into the brain of the man, which can communicate in 100 different directions through the same cell according to what it is. When you understand how much energy is used by the brain and how much everything is controlled, every cell, what is needed, what is come back. You don't know what you're short of in a restaurant till you go into your inventory. And nowadays in a shopping center, when you go to supermarket, you take one can automatically. Once it goes through the till, it goes on order for the central depot to send one can be sold. It has to be always at 20. The same process exists in your body. But the reporting shortage, what is needed, is done by the return of the flow of the blood into the heart. Because it decides what is needed, what is short of when it goes in, is a balancing book. It's an accountancy firm in the first chamber where the blood comes in. And then everything goes flat and it goes back onto delivery where it needs to be done. And then your body decides what lymph has to be there, and then what blood has to be there, and what immune system needs to be taken. The return of flow to the heart is the most important piece of the whole operation, because that's the piece where it reports back what is been, what is not. As I call it, is the informer. And the doctors haven't understood this. And when you do it, then you see what the immune system needs to be done, what is short, and what it has to go. Some cancers are produced because of these diseases. Or put it so, because of these shortages, not the disease. Because as much as now you have a nerve system which keeps a constant report, your blood flow going in and coming out has to be the same. But if the toe is taking too much, so the blood vessels on the upper part, when they come to the soft intestine, can create a different change. And if it's too long, they can create a new environment, and then you see cancer in places you don't see. You look in the other part of the body which the blood comes up from. What happened in the lower part, that I see cancer in this part. It's the totality you have to look for, and this is what we do in our medical part. Next question. We are past our 2-hour limit.
Yeah, I was just
Yes,
going to mention.
madam.
Yeah, just one question. It's because the lymph system actually finish in the right atrium and feeding first the right side and then the left side, and actually lungs before the left side. And the color of the blood is different. So the color which come in the right side is actually close to the blue, and when goes from the left side is actually more close to the bright red. This means that in the blood what we collect from all the body is consists more the cuprum oxide, and the blood which is red is more ferrum or something like this.
No, it just
Because they are
depends on
different colors.
intensity. I explained this. The color of the blood is on the intensity of the energy they carry. It's a dimmer system. The energy is the same. It's like, that's why the lymph is transparent. It's white because it's full of energy. It's fully saturated with magravs. Where in the blood cells, even so, we don't see the blood as red in the vessels when they're in the vacuum condition of the body. The change in the color is just decays the energy of the of what you call it, of the blood cells. This, as I said, is like a adapter on the wall. How much you turn it, you have a brighter light, and how much. Sometimes the doctors understand this. I was explaining this to a doctor in Tehran, I think, if I'm correct, that the color of the blood if you take your blood, let's say when it comes from, just passes the upper leg, and then you look at this actual color, true color, and then you take a blood about 10 centimeter higher and then 10 centimeter higher, you find out the colors are different, they're not the same. Because they absorb different things as they go up and the color changes. The red color of the blood when it comes just out of the heart is totally different, the redness, than when it's in the toe, even though it's still red. Because it's carrying the charges according to the magnetic field and the needs of the toe. That's why your blood vessels get thinner and thinner as you go further. Because the energy they carry is energy destination. You don't find a juggernaut going through a mouse hole. So, and the blood, they're energized according to their sizes. So, when you is taxi destinated, it's like a filtering. This, the more energized for the more upper body finish and get absorbed, and then they are available to be returned back. And as you go to the extremities, the blood vessels are smaller. The size of the blood cells are actually nano, what do you call it, as a spherical different that they can go through. It's not the same blood, and it's because of that they're a slightly different color. The scientists have always looked at the totality, but never gone into details of looking at it. It's the same with the limbs. And the limbs which are within the intestine, within what you call stomach, because there's a cocktail of them, plus what comes back, we see more diseases in the what do you call it, in the core of the body, in the central core and the bottom core. The limbs which go to the legs and the limbs which go to the blood which goes to the legs, they are more or less mono, so it's constant. We don't see cancers in this part of the body. We see a bone cancer, and that's to do with the confusion which the chemical produces. They behave as one, and when they get to the bone, they just open up and they block the limb system, the bone system, sorry.
Okay, so have possibility to change the pH of the blood, because during a lot of diseases, just the pH of the blood, which is related like a 7.4, change it to acidity or to alkaline state. Have some possibility with
what?
technology to change.
Which is what do you call a pH?
pH is this alkaline acid state of some liquid or of some.
No. What is alkaline and what is acid? What is in alkaline? What is in alkaline?
This is more base in alkaline state and more.
No. Chemically, what is base and what is alkaline?
Base is like how is in English? They have hydrogen, they have oxygen, and carbon. This is base.
Yeah, and what is this? What is alkaline and what is acidic?
Alkaline is the state where they consist more base, like this is composition of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen.
And what is alkaline?
That is alkaline state. Acid is
when what is the acid more, then?
Acid is more hydrogen inside, like cations of hydrogen. This is acid state. And the normal state is middle 7.
Yeah,
acid
I think you have
below
answered
7. Okay, sir.
I think you have answered. Write down what you call alkaline. Write down what you call acidic.
This is the hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen.
Yeah. But no. Yeah. Look at it as a magnetic gravitational field which they deliver. When you were here last time, we look at the minute I saw you put the ATP, I think it was on the table, ADP and ATP. The minute I showed you, the minute you saw the nitrogen, it tells you the amino acid and the energy system. Yeah? Yes. So if you have if you have a combination without a carbon in it, but you still have a nitrogen and hydrogen and oxygen, you have an energy source. You have mainly what you call vitamins, which releases energy. Then you look if your combination has a HO and a C, which one is alkaline, and then you look at how they do it, because if it is a nitrogen is radioactive material. So it releases energy of it. When you have a carbon and a hydrogen, this means I'm a supplier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you see the difference. Write down what you call acidic, what you call base, what you call alkaline in the order, and then you understand. Okay, if you get to alkaline, it means you're releasing too much energy, or you're supplying too much. If you are supplying and you change it to be able, or increase the division by adding a nitrogen, then you find out you get your base, you get your balance. Understand the totality, not by name. Then you see it. That's why when you drink sweet drinks or when you take sugar, you go hyper, because there is no nitrogen to be a divider. It's only hydrogen, which means it's a supplier. You supply so much energy, you give it to the child, it runs like a rabbit, because that hydrogen is in the link. And the carbon links it to the amino acid. Carbon is a connection. When you put a H2, hydrogen, oxygen, and the nitrogen in the chain, the minute you see the nitrogen, this means it's a what do you call it? It's a factory. CH is a supply. And then you see why people go hyperactive with the sugar. And then you change the acidity, you find out they say when people consume too much sugar, they end up with a cancer. Yes, you supply so much energy in that somehow you have to find somewhere that it got to be divided to be used. Voila. You set the base to go from alkaline to acidic or whatever. The balance goes to one side. Then you change the interaction between what comes between the neural system and the blood supply. Is your copper plates. You change something in there. Now you become more cancerous. You change the acidic. You have less supply. There is chance of less cancer. If you cannot interfere with it, then you go to thymus. You increase the radiation which sits with the nitrogen in your body, because you can increase the intensity of the radioactive or extreme ultraviolet of the nitrogen into X-ray and above through the B12, through cesium. So if you understand that, then you decide what to do. This is what I explained to the knowledge seekers. I put a coin in my hand and I said, you see it, you don't see it. If you understand this, you can create a condition of high radiation when you need it to release the energy of the cesium in the B12 or cobalt in the B12 behavior into your nitrogen. Your nitrogen for instead of releasing one extreme ultraviolet every, let's say, 10 seconds, it releases 200 in 1 second. So now you create a further division, and when you put acidic in or base in, and then you call it whatever name you put to it, then you understand if you got a supply. Look at the supply. Understand how big this plasma is and how much energy is carried. We are not looking into the molecular structure anymore. We are not looking in how many electrons and protons. In plasma technology, we look at what energy this carries and it represents itself. And then you understand all this pH and the rest is a nonsense, but in a way it gives you an indication of how much energy you brought in. This is why look at the hyperactive people. Are they more alkaline or are they more acidic? They have more CH, huh? Because hyperactivity comes from you can't become active if you're not using hydrogen. So You cannot keep on thinking very actively if you have no energy, no supply. So it has to come from a hydrogen supply. And if you have a hydrogen supply and you add a nitrogen to it, you immediately have an amino acid, you create fat. But if you have only a nitrogen supply, or let's say you have a hydrogen and a carbon supply, and you create the salinity with a salt, which in that condition allows the nitrogen to connect, voila, you get as fat as a cow. This is what the problem is with the food chain. They keep on saying we have to reduce the salt. The salt does not play game as it's going to increase your fat. The salt creates a condition that the CH bond of the sugar needs a housing, which is need a nitrogen hydrogen. Then voila, you made the sac, the salt is in there, and then you just fill it up with water, whatever surplus come. And then you go on diet, you empty the sac in the middle from the water. Oh, I lost 10 kilo in 2 weeks. Yeah, you just lost the water. You drink 2 cups of water too much, and it gets blown up, and you go back to the same size. Understand what is a supplier. Understand what is the divider, and understand the function of the other elements which connect the two together. In America, if they stop using, or eat as much hamburger as you like, but have your drink, your Coca-Cola, your milkshake, an hour later. You won't put any weight on. But when you have your McDonald's, with all the hamburger in it, with all the meat in it, with a lot of salt, and then you add a pound of the sugar in it, with your milkshake or your soda, cha-ching, what do you want to go? Where is these two are going to the chain of protein which is produced. And then, when the protein produced, it cannot sit on top of each other. It has to have separation. That separation, for it not to create cancer or not to create all sorts of problems, has to be separated. The separation comes with the water. So it has to hold water to keep the cells separate. Then you put a weight and you go size 200, 400 kilogram. If the doctors can explain this to their patients, to the people who see them, they won't be there. We had a very nice discussion here with Ivan. All the doctors know, or some of them don't know, if you allow people to chew, as I said before, a piece of cheese before you go to sleep, that it stays in your mouth, the acidity of the mouth changes, you have no decay, more or less. But if they do that, who's going to go to dentist? No one. There will be no one with the holes, unless you break your tooth or there is a deformity or you want a white smile and you spend 10,000 to just get the skin changed.
Mr.Kes, it's funny you mentioned that. There's a news article today that came out in the CBC News, and they were talking about diet and how it affects the teeth. And in countries that had primarily low-income, undeveloped countries where they're primarily eating meat and other dairy-type products and no processed things and so on, their teeth are way, way better than people in the industrialized countries. And I thought that was quite interesting. They said there was no one in the with the good teeth who are on the vegetarian-type diets. They were all on the animal-based diets, similar to what you were talking about with using cheese at night.
Do you want to hear a joke? It's a lot of knowledge behind it, but it can put in with a sense of humor. You know, in the Jewish families, we have a plate for the meat and a plate for the milk, not to mix, because of the reasons his, bless his name, Moses understood at that time, and he explained it. And people at the moment, even today in the Jewish house, you have two different kind of plates. And I used to tease my grandmother sometimes. I used to say, okay, because she had a false teeth. I said, you change your teeth when you have a milk and when we eat meat? Because in the cavities of the separation part of the tooth, some of the milk will stay behind. But in our body, there are enzymes which can neutralize this one, that it does not allow it to happen. So, taking a cheese, you neutralize the condition. And the doctors don't want to do it. They will not tell you. You put your child on a piece of cheese, even 4 or 5 nights a week. You find that dentist will be far away from home. The same thing comes, as I said in our other piece. It says on the forum, I put it there today, and it's on our contracts with the health side. You sign, if you want the help from the Keshe Foundation on the health side, primarily, we don't care if you don't have the money to pay, but you have to sign the World Peace Treaty. Because when you're at peace with yourself, you don't create other, what do you call it, emotional conditions like greed, stealing, and the rest, that it doesn't allow your health to be done. Then you understand world peace is a health contract. Then you understand how emotion, because you create a constant, you don't have to worry about how I'm going to steal, how I'm going to create a war that have something. War. The war doesn't mean to get a gun in your hand and go and fight. A war is between the family. A war is between your conscious and your physicality. A lot of people look at the World Peace Treaty we signed is for that I don't go into a war. I will not become a soldier, I won't pick up a gun. But in essence, gradually we open it to you to understand. It means no war even inside yourself. When you don't have to worry, when you don't have to fight to be loved, when you're at peace with yourself, you find out you don't create conditions that in the neural system changes or in your blood changes and you get different kind of cancers and diseases. In time we open the books why we put this World Peace Treaty. That's why we teach ethics in line with the science together. It's the first time in life of man which has ever happened. All the prophets of the past, they explain to you what the punishment is if you do this. Now we put the science in harmony with the ethics. And as I said to all the time, past months, to the knowledge seekers, in the Keshe Foundation, in the universe, there is one rule. And that rule is, thou shall not steal. Because when you steal, be it a life, be it from your own time, be it somebody else's money, be it somebody else's love, then you use energy, which you don't need to. And then it brings a balance. And then if you find out for every cent you steal, you have to work 3 times more, you don't want to work 3 times more, what's going to be a loss to you? You got to understand, when you create a peace of mind, by signing a peace treaty, you keep a constant structure in the soul of the man, in the emotional part of the man. And then, when everything is constant, there is no change. You have to just serve and live a life which is there and is nice to be. This is what we put the peace treaty. Why should I give you health back? Ask Dr. Elia. I put number 5 in the agreement. You come to Keshe Foundation for health, you have to sign a peace treaty. What has a peace treaty got to do with health? It has to do with the peace of mind. It has to do with your understanding. The man who put poison in my cup to give me arsenic, you have to see what's going to happen to him in the coming time. Intention of stealing a life is as good as stealing a life. I want to see how he pays with his children. We know who it is. It's just a matter of time he commits suicide, or he takes his life, or he opens his hand. This is a discussion I had with the authorities in the past 48 hours. They said, we want to arrest him, we're going to get him. I said, no. We pray for his souls, he'll jump himself. We know who poisoned me. But thinking of killing is as good as killing. So now his life is short of 1 life. And he has children. die shall not steal. A man who betrays his wife is stolen from what is being given to. And then says, oh, my business went wrong. You stole, you have to pay 3 times more. There you sold from the feeling, a life of your partner. Now you pay with you to understand physical, and then you do it again and you fail again. Till you understand. We could arrest the guy today now. We have all the communication in our security. We knew end of this month I was not supposed to be alive, but we didn't know what was going to happen. For 3 months we had a warning. End of September was I will not be here, but we kept on asking, is it a hanging? Is it a suicide? Is it a kidnap? But it's there. I even told on the 29th, I said I was not killed. On the 30th, I said I was not killed on the 20th because they were so sure by 29th I will not be alive with the poison they gave me. So now you plan to steal a life. A life will be stolen from you 3 times. Because once you have to replace it, once you have to work with it, and once you have to pay for what you've taken. So a fool drops €5 to pay 15 back. You change the condition. The peace treaty is not fighting for a gun. As I said to you, when I received a letter from His Excellency President Obama in response to the World Treaty, that how it justified, and we published, you've seen it, in trying to protect his nation. And you heard me, I said, I send you a message of peace, you send me nothing but the justification to kill. And we've seen the demeanor. We've seen the way people are and will change. So when you look at the health part of the Keshe Foundation, and you get the World Peace Treaty, please don't look, oh, I'm not carrying a gun, so I sign it. It means you haven't understood it. But because it comes with a prayer from us, which means you take part of our soul which is connected to the peace, you will understand, you'll find peace, and then through it, we manage to help you to walk away from diseases. Any other question?
Well, I think we should wrap things up there. It's been a full
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Elia. And let me explain to you something before we go. You're quite welcome. It's a pleasure and honor to have Dr. Elia as a first full-time member of the Keshe Foundation.
Wow,
she will join
thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. You know it. We are waiting for you to return.
Thank you, sir.
You're quite welcome. It's for the people to know when you find an asset, treasure like knowledge, you have to hold on to it for an institute like us. And we have, as I said to the knowledge seekers, we have most probably one of the space people, well-known people joining us as advisor, as part of the Keshe Foundation. And we are hoping to have 2 scientists at a high level from 2 other governments in plasma and in other sectors. We are bringing the experts to go into the development of the space technology as we promised. And Dr. Elia is the head of the medical side and the health side, in conjunction with the health center in Malta, which is set and will be shared internationally. And I've seen doctors around the world contacting you to collaborate and start work. And I wish you all the best in joining us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr.Keshe, and thank you, Elia as well, Dr. E.Kostova.
Thank you, guys, for
Shall we speak tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for the children?
No, that's going to be on Wednesday, I believe, actually.
Oh, we are not having it this Saturday.
Right, that'll be postponed till Wednesday.
Wednesday. Oh, fantastic! I can have a Saturday off.
I think that's the way you'd like it, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Rick. See you on Wednesday.
Okay, and just to remind people that they can make donations at the keshefoundation.org website. That would be appreciated, I'm sure, and that'll help keep things going in the research and development of all these things that Mr.Keshe has mentioned.
Yeah, but don't forget that the CO2 kit is on sale on the Keshe Foundation shop, and it's very strange. Since yesterday we launched it, I was telling to Marco, people are buying 2 and 3 units. And don't forget, when you receive the units, there is a world peace message with it too. Sign into it and put it on under the container that you remember what you signed yourself into. Thank you very much indeed.
That's a great way to
See you.
donate to the Keshe Foundation for sure.
See you on Wednesday. Thank you very much, Rick. Thanks, Dr. Elliot.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye,
Yep.
Vince. Thank you, everybody else.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
chamber, and you are able to see what is the how in English, how looks like the wall of the left chamber and how looks like the wall on the right chamber and the wall in between them. They have different, they are different, how is in English? So I want to say that the left wall of the left, the wall of the left chamber is the more wide and more thick than the right chamber wall because they generate different kind of pressure inside. The resistance of the vessels inside of your lungs is so small if you compare of resistance of the all vessels inside of your body. So the pressure what is generated inside of the right chamber is less than the pressure what is generated inside of your left chamber. And because of that, the left chamber has the wall of the left chamber is more thick because supposed to generate a huge amount of pressure inside. Okay, then we go to the picture 8. Picture 8, picture 9 and 10 is showing you in 3D model autochtonic nervous system inside of your heart. Actually, impulse generates inside of the sinus node. For you, is visible the first node of left top. From there, when impulse is started, goes through all parts, passing the atrium, then in the middle of the wall between two atriums, and then goes to the next node they call atrium ventricular node. This is not between the atrium and chambers. When you generate the impulse inside of the sinus node, it is more frequent. Then when reach the AV node, atrium chamber node, the function of that node is just to slow down the frequency. From that node, impulse goes through all the net, they call this Purkinje net, to two chambers and the wall in between the chambers. Autochtonic nervous system just support all the beats of your heart. Because of autochtonic nervous system, heart is never stop. And actually, autochtonic nervous system of your heart belongs to your emotional brain. Because nervous regulation of the heart is not only from that nervous system, have also regulation from your central nervous system regarding parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. The main regulation for heart from parasympathetic nervous system is nervus vagus, which just slow down the movement of the heart. Also, inside of your carotid artery have other nodes, nervous nodes, which regulate your heart beating. All that parts and also sympathetic nervous system regarding adrenaline releasing from your kidney glands. They regulate all the movement and functions inside of your heart. But only autochtonic nervous system belongs to your emotional part of the brain. All other regulations belong to your physical part of the brain. And you again see the similarity, like all the muscles which made it the heart, they are smooth and skeletal muscles. Also, you see the same similarity in the nervous regulation. We have again two nervous system regulation in our heart. This is autochtonic to emotional part of the brain, and peripheral regulation like parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. They belongs to your physical part of the brain. Okay. Then we go to the picture normal 11, which is give you 3D model of all Purkinje net. They actually looks like small tubes all around the wall, but actually they are more close to the inner superface of the wall. It is not outside, like more outside of the wall. It is more close inside of the wall. It is important for you just to remember, and Mr.Keshe will tell you how it's really on that part of the wall start conversion of DC to AC. You see, there is like small tube.
And welcome everybody. Welcome to the fifth Keshe Health Teaching Workshop, and we'll be on with Dr. E.Kostova and Mr.MT.Keshe of the Spaceship Institute, and a couple of other knowledge seekers from the Spaceship Institute. I think Marco is there. John's there as well. Okay, and okay, Armin is. I was just told that Armin is in the lab trying to fly, so he's in the background there somewhere. And I think we're ready to go at the other end. So today's topic is the heart, and we'll be talking about the structure of the heart as well as the emotional part of the brain, attachments to the heart, and other interesting relationships that both Dr. E.Kostova and Mr.MT.Keshe will be bringing forward. So let's go right over to the Spaceship Institute and introduce this topic. Okay. Someone there?
Yes, hello to everybody.
Hi,
It's
Elia.
me, Elia. It's pleasure for me to be with you today with the fifth health teaching workshop. The subject is heart and relation with emotional and physical part of the brain. Like we spoke the previous workshop, the heart made it from the smooth and skeletal muscles, cells, and fibers. So the regulation of the heart regarding KF technology is from emotional and from physical part of the brain. So I will follow the pictures and explanation through the pictures. Can we start with the zero? Yeah, is it the zero picture? For everyone who wants to download the pictures, I just posted the Google Drive link on the live stream page. If you want, you are able to download and to follow in yourself. So we started with the first picture. The first picture is the 3D model of the real heart of human. And how you see is so similar like a mesh. It's made from 4 chambers, but on that pictures you're able to see how the form in the space is just made from the nature. It is exactly like a mesh with so many enters and exits from that mesh. And then we go for the picture 1. Picture 1 will give you how heart is placed inside of the chest. From picture 1 to picture 4 is different projection of the place of the heart. On that picture you see the heart in front. Actually is placed not exactly in the middle of the chest, is some kind of the left part of the chest, and actually it is not static position. The heart is moving all the time, and his way in each beating is really 2 centimeters. And when doctor investigate your heart, they even, if you've been in the cardiology department of the hospital, they ever measured your heart in the position 1, and then they made like a 2 centimeters left to measure the way. So that is the way from the middle line of your body to your left part of your chest. This is the way 2 centimeters broad, like heart passed all the time from each beating. So on that pictures you see how is positioning of the heart like on side. The next picture will be see how is up, and then how is from a bottom. Yeah. And then we go for the picture 5. So the pictures 5 give you crossing view of the heart and how is positioning of the 5 chambers inside of the heart. Heart take a blood from all your body, which is carrying of metabolic products of your metabolism. In that blood go in the right side of your heart. Yes, this is the picture 5. And we call the right side of your heart because inside of that part is only so low oxygenated blood. Go inside from main vein of your body is this vena cava, superior and inferior, and then go to like a shell. Okay. Then the picture 17 give you more technical view of chamber and the direction of the myofibers, and is showing you how they spin. So the top spin clockwise and the bottom spin upperclockwise. It's exactly making the infinity model. When you spin infinity model, and then what just happen, just generate the pressure inside, and the pump just pumping the blood inside of the main vessels through lungs or to your body. The pictures 18th, it is again muscle view of your heart, direction of the myofibers, and direction of the contraction. So you tip of your heart just contract and make the movement circular. Each part make different kind of movement, but they are like a part of the science of infinity, of the science of 8, because they are synchronized to each other. Okay. Then we go to the picture 19. So the pictures 19 showing you the organization of sarcomere inside of each myocells, what we spoke the previous time in the fourth workshop. I just give you back again the chart of the sarcomere because I want to tell you that when the actin and myosin slides to each other, they make a contraction inside of the myocells and then the myofiber and all the muscle. And when they contract, they actually generate a pressure inside of the chamber. Then when starts the relaxation, actin and myosin go away from each other, but they are able to go away up to the point of 2 micrometers. If they go more than 2 micrometers, they are not able to slide again and to make a contraction. So that is the point when the patient get a heart failure, when they dilate a myocells up to the moment that myocells is not able to retract to the normal size. What means is not more able to generate the same pressure in that chamber. And you see on the bottom of that picture that is measuring the forces, how many forces generate each movement. How you see there are 4, like Mr.Keshe we ever have a trinity, and then 4 force come in to balance the situation. I will be not boring you with some medical stuff, just I want to give you simple consequence between the natural anatomy and what Mr.Keshe explained you about the Kiev stage. Okay, 20, number of picture 20, give you the cardiac cycle. This is explanation how because of the contraction and relaxation of the muscles have different state of cardiac cycle. So we start with venous intake inside of the right atrium, then the venous flow goes to the right chamber, then from the right chamber blood sent through the lungs via pulmonary artery, then started oxygenation of the blood inside of the lungs, and from there blood goes through the lungs vein inside of the left atrium, and then from left atrium goes to the left chamber, and from left chamber to aorta. Aorta spread the blood to your head and to your body. This is the cardiac cycle in easy way to explain. And 21st is again cardiac cycle, but is give you time. How you see how many seconds you need for each movement of each chamber. That is interloops and impulse gone inside through the end and actually reach every myocells inside of the wall. Okay, then we go to picture number 12. And picture number 12 just give you drawing, it is drawing picture and give you again the autochtonic nervous system inside of your heart. I posted different kind of pictures just to be visible for you to understand how actually autochtonic nervous system cross all the walls inside of the heart. It is so organization of all the chambers for inside of the heart is so similar like a reactor organization. And when we reach the chapter for a pressure inside of each chamber, we'll be see that similarity again. This is our main pump, our main generator in our body. Then we go to the picture 13. It is again your autochtonic nervous system with measurements in which part, how many heartbeat you have per minute, and how this frequency just slowing down to the end of the net of Purkinje. So from the sinus note, you start from 70. Then when you reach the atrial chamber note is Ave note, you slow down to 45, 50, then goes through left and right chamber, you finish to the 35, 40 and to the 40, 45 beats. If you measure different kind of percentage between all the parts, you will be found some kind of consequence. Okay, then we go to the 14th. 14th is like a GIF picture. If you open, you are able to see how impulse goes through the all autochtonic nervous system and how this impulse causes the retraction and relaxation of the walls. Okay. It is gift.
14.
Yeah, 14 is gift. It is a picture with action. If you are not able to open, everyone is able. This is just to show how goes relaxation and contraction of the wall. This is gift moving picture. Probably you are not able to open like that.
I think I have it there now.
Ella. Yeah, but it's not move. You have just static. Supposed to move, right, but it's not moving. Okay, but everyone are able just to download, sorry, and to see. Okay, then we go to the 15th. 15th give you different kind of direction of the myofibers inside of the heart. Actually, they have a spinning direction. And how you see on the tip of your heart, they make like kind of 8 like infinity. If you look on, if you enlarge that picture, you'll be see exactly the sign of infinity. And direction of the myofibers is regarding how they make a contraction and relaxation of each chamber, like atriums and ventricular. And when they just relax, other part contract. This is so synchronic movement. It's not that your heart contract all 4 chambers in one go and relax all 4 chambers in one go. No, they work one by one because they have to generate inside of them pressure. And because of that, movement and function of the heart wall, they have isotonic and isometric state. In one state, they collect a pressure, in other state, they make a move. They contract to pump the blood. But it's really good picture to show how the nature make the direction of muscle like infinity. Okay, so the 16 give you direction of the muscle inside of chambers when they are relaxed and when they are contracted, how they looks like. And they are again showing you the spinning direction, how they just spin, go around. It just looks like, for me, like the atrium. From atrium, go to the right chamber. All that
Can I
right
see
part of
this?
your heart
I don't
only
see it.
care
Oh, there it is.
non-oxygenated blood. The atrium and the right chamber, they are separated with one valve. The valve have three parts, and that's why they call this tricuspidal valve. After the blood come from veins, then in our atrium, then in chamber, go through the main way through the lung. This is the truncus pulmonaris. Truncus pulmonaris put all the blood inside of your lungs. There, blood exchange the CO2 to oxygen from lungs, and then all oxygenated blood goes again through the vein from lung in left atrium. From left atrium goes to the left chamber. Left chamber and left atrium, they are separated again with valve. And this valve have two parts, that's why they call mitral valve. From the left chamber, the blood goes through the aorta, and through aorta to all your body and the head. This is some simple explanation how your heart have four parts actually. This is like four places to collect a blood and to generate a pressure inside. All your heart is made from different kind of muscle myofibers, and they have different kind of directions that you'll be see of the next pictures. Then we go to the number 6 picture. I just tried to give you simple anatomy explanation. Okay, this is again the cross view of the heart, and in that picture you see two chambers, right and left, and muscles inside, because the heart have not only muscle structure on the wall, but also different kind of muscles inside of each chamber. They connect the valves and wall, and because of these little and tiny muscles, chambers are able to generate a pressure inside. Actually, the pressure inside of the heart in different chambers is so different regarding of amount of blood with these chambers supposed to pump inside of the vessel. From the right chamber, blood goes to truncus pulmonaris, is mean through lung, and from the left chamber goes in aorta. But because we have different kind of resistance in the blood vessels inside of the lung, and different kind of resistance in the blood vessels in all your body, because of that, these two chambers, they're supposed to generate different kind of pressure inside to be able, how is in English, opposite, and to make a pump function regarding this resistance. to cross this resistance, to overcome this resistance. Okay. In the same picture 6 is in blue line showing the autochtonic nervous system inside of your heart. Actually, in anatomy, it's explained that heart have an autochtonic nervous system and the impulse generated inside of the sinus node. For you, on that picture is visible on the left bottom like a blue knot. And then from this blue knot goes different kind of blue lines. This is the path from different part of your heart. In other pictures is more visible for you. Then we go to the picture 7. Okay, the picture 7 is again the cross view of the heart, but in that way is visible two valves between the right atrium and right chamber and the left atrium and left chamber.